Bye-bye. Bye. And we're live. Wow, after a couple of technical difficulties, we are here. Welcome.
Thank you.
I was breathing so heavy because the internet was like literally showing me flames. Hey, Kim.
Mine has been like that for 2 weeks now.
How are you?
I'm good. Can't complain. It's been tough, but I'm
I
good.
can't even imagine. It literally did that with me. Yeah, I'm blessed. I am highly favored. I am grateful. And most of all, I'm excited. I'm excited to be having this conversation with you. So much. I'm always excited to have conversations. Like I think I'm a proper chatterbox.
You've met your match.
Yes. So this should be really exciting. Welcome to the people that just joined us now. Welcome to the mom to mom conversation about being a mom in a digital age. Because motherhood now I think it's transitioned. I think it's definitely transformed from how our mothers did it when they didn't have technology and Dr. Google, things are definitely moving at a faster pace now than they used to, for sure. So I'm to chat how we can be, how we can continue being stronger together. Just to chat about how we can continue empowering each other on our journeys of motherhood instead of making each other feel like we are not doing enough. Because I've definitely felt like that. I've definitely had moments where I felt like, yeah, no, that means I'm doing it wrong, So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this conversation, Kim. Thank you so much for allowing me into your space. Your first live conversation, girl. How are you feeling?
I know. It's nerve-wracking, but I'm here.
Yay, I'm glad you're here, and I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that you're doing it with me. You're first. I'm your first. I'm so excited.
Yes,
can people tell us? Is the audio fine? Is the video fine? Can we? I just need a thumbs up from someone who's watching to say we can continue our conversation. Waiting for a thumbs up. Waiting for a thumbs up. Hi, Pam and Fam. Thank you for coming, Pam. Thank you so much for coming. I just need a thumbs up to go. Yes, Pam is here. Yay. Okay, while I wait for a thumbs up. So just in terms of the conversation, I think I want to start off. I think it would be a good starting point to find out why you decided to share yourself with the people, why you decided to start your blogging journey, particularly your journey with motherhood, and also maybe briefly introduce yourself to my audience. Thank you, Pam. We got a thumbs up. Introduce yourself to my audience that is not familiar with who Stacey Kim is and how many kids Stacey has and just Stacey's background and passion for motherhood. So over to you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much, Karab, for having me. I am very nervous, and only because I'm a very emotional person. So don't mind me if I do get, because it's tough. It's motherhood is a tough journey, and I think before I introduce myself, that is why I started to kind of share my journey, because it's been so tough for me at home. You have as much support. Sorry, you can have as much support at home, but I think mentally, that's where it gets you. So, my name is Stacey. I'm the face behind Stacey Blogs. I have 3 gorgeous kids. My eldest is 7 years old. That's Mia. And then I've got Liam, who is turning 5. And then I've got Emma, who is a feisty little one, who is now 10 months. I'm 30 years old. I've been married for almost 10 years. It will be 10 years in January.
You just give me
hmm
goosebumps.
And and when I started sharing my journey, it wasn't initially about motherhood. I started in fitness first, and then it transitioned to hair, and then it transitioned to motherhood, because as I said, I needed a space where I could express myself, share my thoughts, share my feelings, because I know a lot of women are going through the same things I am, even worse, and kind of need, that little bit of validation to know that you're not alone. And that is why I started blogging. And it's not even been long. It's about what, less than a year that I'm officially in the parenting space. So I'm fairly new in the industry or in the motherhood space. But I love sharing my journey. I do it honestly and in transparent. I'm extremely transparent. So I'm so grateful that people are accepting my journey because I'm so vulnerable online. Um, so yeah, that's me
And
in a
I think that's why.
nutshell.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you, Stacey. And I think people are accepting you, Stacey, because your content is so relatable, right? And I think that's what people are looking for. People are just looking for people that are honest, because,
Yeah.
like you said, it's difficult. Oh my gosh, motherhood, parenting is so difficult. Like I always say this, and I always say how it's a whole human being. For me, it's a whole human being, just one. Right now, I'm just dealing with one human being that is absolutely, entirely reliant on me,
On you.
right? And her father. And that alone, and that's the beauty and the purity of being a child, just the
Yeah.
dependence, right? You depend on somebody else, but that dependence on the somebody else that you depend on as a child, that takes its toll on them so much. Because I always say the one prayer I have is, oh my God, I wish I do not mess this up.
Mm.
That's all I ever pray for. I'm like, oh, I hope I don't mess it up. I hope I don't mess it up. Because most of the time I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just doing it anyway because it looks like it's working. I'm like, I'm almost
Yeah.
3 years into the journey, and firstly, I haven't killed her. And she looks happy and healthy. And I always think, okay, so I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. And that's how my blogging journey also materialized, right? Because the first 3 months of her life showed me flames. OMG. I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea if I was going forward or backward. I had no idea what I was doing. I always say, like, I was so sleep deprived, and I smelled of spit up, and I was hungry and dirty, and I went online and I started searching, and I saw a lot of blogs from
Mm.
other moms, and also sharing their journeys. And at that point, I felt so lonely because I felt like I was the only person going through this. And then I saw other moms who were saying, "Oh, when I had my newborn, I didn't bath for 3 days." I was like, "Oh, so it's not just me."
That's me.
Right? And I didn't feel so lonely anymore. It didn't feel so
Yeah.
lonely anymore. And I was like, hey. And then I got a friend of mine planted a seed, Utuli planted a seed, is like, start a blog. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Because I was already sharing like on a micro level, like on WhatsApp and Instagram and stuff about my journey. And I was like, maybe I can reach like a larger audience, because my
Yeah.
messaging was simple. It's hard, but you're not going through it alone. Because I think
Alone.
that
Exactly.
that statement alone is so empowering, to know that there's somebody else that has went through it. And
Exactly.
it's always so beautiful to kind of get advice from people, to say, hey, my daughter didn't sleep the whole night. What could be the problem? It's like, yeah, mine also didn't sleep the whole night. This is what I tried. Use some white noise. Maybe she's gassy. Maybe she's this. Maybe she's that.
Yeah.
And that was so beautiful, and it made the experience so much better. But, but I also developed a love-hate relationship for social media, because in the same breath, you get a lot of negativity where, and I've
Yeah.
seen now, because now I'm like, I'm in the parenting space. Like I
Yeah.
left my 9 to 5 because I was like, I love this so much, and like I wanna immerse myself into this world, and I did, and I was like, there's so much ugly here as well.
Yeah.
um, and that never made sense for me, because like we said, it's so difficult, and we're going through so much. So I can't
Yeah.
comprehend why people could be so ugly. Like someone innocently
Exactly.
asking, um I'm struggling to breastfeed, and I'm thinking of putting my child on formula, and someone could say, no, don't put your child on formula, you're going to deprive them of all the good nutrients. What? Like,
Exactly.
a mother just said they're struggling with breastfeeding, and they want to know what their
Exactly.
options are. And instead of being nice, and giving them their options, or advising them also in a very nice tone, we just
Yeah.
decided to feel um, less of a mother. And I think that's what it
Exactly.
does, right? Because you feel like you're not doing what your body is meant to be doing.
Exactly.
Um, So, how has your experience been, just in that space of being a mom to 3 children? You've experienced it 3 times. I've only done it
Yeah.
once. How's your experience been with sharing your journey and looking at how we relate to each other as women, in this space, and this digital space as well,
Yeah.
as moms? How's your experience been?
Okay. So I actually want to compare it from my firstborn to Emma, which is my last
Yeah.
born. So when I had Mia, I wasn't really on social media. I wasn't
Okay.
really, I didn't have many friends, I wasn't surrounded by, this whole mom blogger and parenting world. And,
Mm.
there's two sides to the coin, because at that time I feel like I had less pressure on me, because I didn't, pull from all these sources. But then also, I also wish that I had them, because I feel like
Mm.
my journey would have been much easier.
Mm.
And then that also brings me to now. I feel like if I was a first time mom in this
Mm.
day and age, like I actually have tears in my eyes. Please don't mind me, guys. But
No,
I feel
please
like
cry
so,
away. This is
it's
woman
so,
to woman chat. We are emotional beings. Go ahead.
I, I feel for moms because I feel for myself. I feel for
Mm.
moms in this day and age because, you can't just say, guys, I want to stop breastfeeding, as you said, because, it's affecting me. Because then everybody, the police comes and just pounds on me. And then that brings me, like, I'm literally shaking because I sit back, Karabo, and I think to myself, how can you go online, go to somebody's post, and make comments like that in general? You know, what, as an individual, what makes that person think that it's okay to go on that mom's profile and say something?
Yeah,
And I think that's what I love sharing my journey, because
it's okay. It's okay.
this
It's
is why I
okay.
don't do lives. But I love sharing my journey
Mhm.
because I do my best, and I feel like I use so much energy into, building these humans, building and bringing up my kids. I feel like somebody can feed off that energy.
Mm.
Somebody can be inspired by the things that I do. And also
Mm.
because I know that people are watching me, it gives me the motivation and the energy to do better. But back to your question, for me, I have to be so diplomatic in writing a post because I have this fear that I'm going to pour my heart out and somebody's going to turn around and say something to me that is just going to it's just going to affect me. And I think that's what people need to realize, that when you go online, just be mindful of what you say and how you say it, because you never know what that mom is going through at that point in time. You just never know. So for me, it's difficult sharing my journey. But then I do get a lot of positive feedback, um, where I'm helping moms and I'm building myself. And I think most importantly, I think I'm building myself.
Yes.
Even though my journey is helping people, I feel like it's making me stronger as a mom to kind of let that energy go and then start afresh.
Yes.
So yeah.
Firstly, thank you for allowing yourself to be vulnerable. That's where your strength lies. So don't fight it off. This is who you are, and that's why you were the perfect person to have this conversation with, because it sounds and looks like you're very passionate about it. So thank you. And you're getting a lot of love. Simply Ika, I think, says, "Don't cry. You're inspiring." You see, people love you. And Mishka says, "My Stacy."
Oh,
Um,
thank you, Mish.
but you said a mouthful, and I love how you say that in the same breath you are receiving a lot of positive feedback from other moms, because we can't disregard the fact that there's a lot of good in the journey. There's a lot of positive feedback that we get from other moms and parents in general, and that for me is what keeps me going, because as much as there's a lot of ugly, at the same time there's also a lot of beauty where a mom comes in and says, "Thank you for that, that actually helped me with this and that, your last post was so inspiring, someone just said you're inspiring now." Because so these are people that are really invested in your journey. And I always say that, I think I lost Stacy. Are you here, Stacy? Okay. While I wait to get her back, okay, I totally lost her now, but she'll reconnect in a bit. I always say that there's a reason we exist in communities. I don't think there's any human being that's meant to go through things alone. If we were meant to do that, then everyone would be existing in their own little universe. So we were definitely not meant to exist alone. That's why things happen in generations, right? Where you get older people that went through parenting. That's why you get people that have more experience, because with age comes wisdom. Welcome back. with
Sorry, I
with
just went
age,
off.
definitely. No, don't worry about it. You're back. So I was just saying that, I really do believe that as human beings, we're not meant to live in isolation. We're meant to live with other people, right? That's why we exist in communities. So nothing is meant to happen in isolation. Parenting as well, and it's always so beautiful. That's why I love sharing my journey online so much, because I'm pouring into other people. I'm sharing my experience. I call myself an oversharer. Sometimes I share stuff that no one else would be sharing, like like a half naked picture of myself with my stretch marks. But the amount of feedback I got from that assured me that, I did the right thing by sharing a half naked picture of myself with my stretch marks. Because, a good friend of mine that I didn't even know was experiencing insecurities about her postpartum body texted me and said, "I felt so good about myself." Not because it's like, "Oh, Karaba has stretch marks," but it's like, because other people are experiencing it. I thought I was the only one who still had stretch marks post giving birth. and and that alone was so empowering, because I was like, yo, I was able to brighten even a single person's day. And that's always the purpose, right? Just to touch even a single life. and you touch on something so beautiful about why would you even share that? Like, why would you be so mean to someone that, and that also like constantly has me so baffled. And that's why I always ask myself, I hardly, like, sometimes I don't comment on stuff because I sometimes I don't have anything to say, right? And I
Exactly.
just don't. So don't do it. Like, if you've got nothing nice to say, just don't do it. Like, you don't have to type anything. Like, you're not required to, because you have data in a phone
No,
and you're seeing businesses. You don't have to.
exactly.
You're not obliged to comment. Like, I think people need to just understand that, right? Ew, I think our connectivity with Stacy is a bit weird, but we'll wait for her to try and reconnect again. So I think the beauty about our parenting journeys is just about how different they are, right? Um, I don't think my journey is the same as your journey or the person next to me. So how I navigate it is also not going to be the same just by virtue of us not being the same, by virtue of us not having the same kind of background, by virtue of us not having the same kind of beliefs. So there's no way me and you are going to be doing things exactly the same way, particularly for the context of this conversation, particularly our parenting choices. Our parenting choices are not going to be the same. So my own insecurities should also not make the next person feel like their decisions are wrong. Are you back? See?
Yes, I'm trying to get the connection properly, but just carry on.
Okay,
Um,
cool. Yeah. So I so one big thing that I always struggle with is the conversation regarding birth, right? So I think that's where it started with me, because I had a natural vaginal delivery, and I wanted to do that. So for me, there was a reasoning behind the choice of birthing for me, and for me, my birthing experience was very symbolic, because I watched a lot of birthing videos while I was pregnant, and I was like, I want that. Like, and I watched like the brutally honest and eek videos, right? Those are the videos that I watched. So I saw women screaming, I saw women crying, and I was like, I want that. I want to experience that pain. Because I said to myself, and I made a vow to myself, that if I can experience that pain and overcome it, I can overcome
yeah,
absolutely anything in life. And I think my spirit was also preparing me for the challenges of motherhood, to say to myself, if I can endure the pain of giving birth to a human being, literally getting a human being out of my birthing canal, I can endure
mhm.
any. And that's where the choice came from. And I always say that, because people are like, oh, your video made it look like it's so easy, and I was like, but it really wasn't. Like, my experience wasn't any easier. And then we would have conversation about people that chose to birth using a C-section, about, oh my gosh, why would you like choose to schedule a C-section, you like, why don't you want to tolerate that kind of pain? It's like, it's none of your goddamn business.
Mm,
Like, I just don't understand why you would want to impose on someone's decision like that. And the big conversation around, even when I read articles. So for those who don't know, I'm also a parenting writer for Parenting, which is the Citizens Parenting publication. And I hate having to write birthing articles that say natural versus C-section.
exactly.
It's like, what is that? Like, what is that? Like, why are we Visa? Like, is this a boxing match?
I hate that.
Like, it makes no sense for me.
I don't get it because I had three C sections. So, like, Just say
So,
birth.
by saying that, by saying natural versus C-section, I'm saying your three births were not natural, Stacey.
That's how it makes me feel.
Like, why are we out here making women feel like they are less of moms, like less moms because they decided to? Sometimes it's not even a decide to, right? I know people that chose to have a C-section where you can just schedule it. I have a friend of mine who was like, I cannot tolerate pain. That's why I chose to have a C-section. It's like, and that's okay. You can't stand the
It's
pain,
okay.
that's fine. Exactly. You wanted to get your epidural. It doesn't make you less of a mom. Bottom line is your child is going to be in this world and you're going to have to take care of them. And it does not matter
Exactly.
how you live it in this world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can continue.
I wanted to touch on, like, I think it also has a lot to do with the questions that we all ask. Because we see a mom, she's given birth, and the first question somebody asks you is, "Oh, did you have a C-section or did you have natural?" And then I think to myself, you know what? The questions we should be asking is, are you okay? Is baby okay? I'm proud of you, mommy. You did a wonderful job. I'm so happy for you. The question should not be, was it natural? Was it C-section? And then another thing is, how much did your baby weigh? Like, it's a competition for the biggest baby. So I think questions, from our side to change this narrative,
Yeah.
it has to be, as parents and as mothers, we need to stop asking those questions and be mindful and say, okay, this mommy just went through, whether it be natural birth, whether it be C-section, this mommy just went through a traumatic experience, because that is what birth is. Whichever way it is traumatic. We need to stop asking the
Yeah.
correct questions in general. So that's
I actually really love it. I love that so much. Because it's there was a there was a thingy. So I'm part of a lot of mommy groups, particularly on Facebook, because that's where I get a lot of my content ideas. Because I want to know what moms are talking about. I wanna see what moms are sharing. And it still baffles me how people are still having those conversations about how their kids landed into the world. I'm like, why are we doing that? Like your child is here. Why
yeah.
does it matter how they got here? Because I always think about the situations surrounding particularly C-sections, right? Because some people choose to have a C-section and some people don't. And for the moms that I know did not choose to have C-sections, that was like that experience proper rocked their boats, because when, like, particularly with your first time, like, you have a birthing plan and you want things to go this way, you plan it and you're like, oh, I want to have candles and I want to have such an amazing experience, and it's like, nope, none of that is happening. And now your mind is absolutely not prepared for having an emergency surgery, and then you have to recover from that as well. And then someone comes to you and says, "So, how did you birth?" It's like, it does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the other question we should ask. Does your question matter? Does it matter how much my child weighed? Does it matter why I am deciding to stop my breastfeeding? Does it matter why I'm choosing this over that? If it doesn't matter, then don't ask me.
Exactly.
If
I
it does
feel
not
like
matter, don't ask.
it doesn't matter. And I feel like just because somebody is open to sharing that information, it doesn't always open, the floor for questioning. And I think that's what social media and this digital age, has evolved in that aspect, that now people feel, because I have now made myself vulnerable and I am now sharing, I am now opening myself to critique, and I'm opening myself to, to all these questions. Whereas sometimes as parents and as mothers, we are just sharing our journey. It's not for validation. It's not for you to ask, why this and why that. It's just to share our journeys. So I mean, I think also that's an important aspect for people to realize, that I mean, just because I am sharing that I had this birth and my child was this, doesn't mean you need to do the whole compare thing, or like, just sometimes as mothers we just need an ear to listen. I think if
Oh,
anything, whoever's on this platform, I don't even know if it's a question that you want to ask, but I just need to say this now
yeah, no,
because
no,
it's
go
on
ahead.
my heart.
Yes.
I feel like we have so much to say because we bottle so much inside, because we're busy, we don't allow ourselves to feel these emotions, of what motherhood and parenting has an effect on us mentally. That when we do open ourselves, sometimes we just need an ear to listen, a heart. If you want to comment something, just, but it does not mean that you need to, do the whole rebuttal, or, I don't know, just make these negative comments. Just listen.
Mm.
The power of listening nowadays, I think people really underestimate that, because of the whole narrative of, you need to say what you want to, it's freedom of speech, and everything that's going on in social media. Sometimes it is so important to listen and to hear.
The internet is so jealous. Okay, while we get Stacey back, she mentioned something very important about freedom of speech, and I think freedom of speech comes. I think every right that we have, every freedom that we have, comes with a lot of responsibility. This is what I learned when I was growing up, learning about the Constitution, about the fact that we have a freedom of speech, but you also have a responsibility to not hate. Hate speech is also not a thing. And I think that's what a lot of the commentary, the negative commentary that you find on social media, is a lot of hate speech. Um, and that is just absolutely not acceptable. And what I've adopted in my personal life, and how I interact with people online, is to always ask myself what the intention of my commentary is. So one has to be very intentional when I feel one has to be very intentional, and I might be very biased, and I might be also sharing from a personal space, but I think one has to be very intentional about their intentions. So I always ask myself, when you are commenting right now, or when you are asking a question, or when you're interacting with someone online, what is your purpose? Are you trying to build, or are you trying to destroy? Because if
Yeah.
your purpose is to destroy, just rather not do it. Just rather not do it, because you're really not serving a purpose. Because our purpose is, my personal purpose, particularly as a Christian woman, as a believer, is to save and serve. And if what I'm about to type is not serving the purpose of saving and serving, then I'd rather just not do it. If I've got nothing good or constructive to say, then just rather not do it. Because I was just saying, Stacey, now about you talking about us having the freedom of speech, we also have a responsibility not to destroy.
Definitely.
Hate speech, right? Right? I think you can continue what you were, the beautiful point you were portraying before the internet decided to hate.
Guys, I just logged on to another source now because I'm off track now. What was I saying?
Um, no, I think we can. I think it's fine. We can just continue the conversation. So, how do you
Yeah,
feel
no.
about this point? Right. So, I think a lot of the times we just need to be very careful about projections. And I sometimes feel like that's what a lot of the hate on social media really is. And I look at my personal journey and I remember how when I was still in corporate, I used to really dislike people that stood up for themselves, or left
Yeah.
jobs they didn't like, because that didn't make sense for me. I'm like, ah, man, you in corporate, things always go wrong here. So why are you complaining about it? Like, stop complaining, stop being such an insubordinate. Like, why do you have to do that? Like, I did not like that at all because I admired it, right?
Yeah.
And I think we just also have to realize as human beings that sometimes we dislike things that we admire, even on a very subconscious level.
Yes.
Um, and
Yes.
I admired that. I wish that I could start standing up for myself and vocalizing the stuff that I absolutely disliked. And only at a later stage did I become that woman. And that's why I ended up
Mm.
leaving corporate, because it was making me very unhappy. But before that,
Yeah.
people that were unhappy because of corporate, just for me, just looked like really terrible people. And in my little corners, I would always complain about that. So I'm referencing to this because I saw a post once. Someone asked on a mommy group on Facebook, how much does it cost to raise a child? Very general question. And the responses obviously would be very varied, because you could be spending
Yeah.
500 Rand on your child every month, but I could be spending 5,000 Rand. So every response
Yeah.
on that thread should have been met with absolute openness, right?
Yeah.
Wrong, wrong. Some woman commented that she spends 11,000 Rand on a child. That was also quite a huge shock for me, because I'm like, yo, that is a lot of money. And then she broke it
A lot
down:
of money.
medical aid, the nanny, school, toys, clothes. Like, she actually accounted for it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. That makes sense. Yo. I even wrote a story on it for Parenty, because she got so much heat for that. Oh my gosh, I actually felt so bad for this woman, because I'm like, oh, hun, you should have just not said anything. Because now she's just sitting at her house looking at all these comments coming in of people telling her that, oh, you're just bragging because you have so much money. How dare
So
you
much
pay your nanny?
money.
How dare you pay your nanny 7,000 Rand? That's such a lot of money. And it's like, just be happy for the nanny, you know?
Yes.
Just be happy that
Exactly.
a nanny is so blessed to have someone that can afford to pay her that much money. Why? Like, I could not comprehend why someone would utilize their energy to be so negative towards her. And I even spoke to her privately after that, and she was also personally not in a good space, because I reached out not only because I wanted to write the story, but I reached out also because I felt so bad
So
for her.
sorry.
But then I thought, if you would you not love to afford 11,000 Rand, Stacy, every month,
Exactly. And
to pay?
I have a very good answer to your question. Um, can I interrupt you? Yes, if
Yes,
you don't
go
mind,
on.
because it's on
I'm
my
done.
mind now.
Yes.
You know, I I was actually thinking about this. When I told you that I just needed to gather my thoughts, and I did it so that I could understand from both sides. I mean, I used to be one of those women who automatically dislikes you because you just have it all together. And I feel like, you know, my head is just all over the place. And then I took a step back, and which is what I think everybody should do, especially if you feel or you are disliking somebody by what they have, what they do, their success, all these things.
Mm,
Step back first of all, okay? And then my first, like, I'm not perfect, and I do. None of us are, and I do feel intimidated, if that's a word, or I'm very hard on myself when I see things like this, and I'll be like, but why can't it be me? I also want
mm,
those things. And
mm,
I think change comes with being a woman and being a mother and giving these people compliments.
Mm.
If you find a woman that is, you find them stunning, instead of being like, psh, unfriend, because tell the person, you know what, I think you're absolutely gorgeous.
Mm.
If somebody is doing a rock star job at
Yeah.
bringing up their children and you admire them, tell them, instead of manifesting, as you're saying, all these thoughts which is making you feel less of a mother, less of a human. Let it out into the universe, speak it, tell them, you know what, you're doing an incredible job. I honestly wish that I could do what you do. Do you have any
Mm.
tips?
Mm.
If you don't
Yeah.
want tips, my thing, there's so much room for everyone. The world, the universe it's so big.
Yes.
Do I feel disheartened when I go online and I see other mommy bloggers doing better than me? Of course I do. But then
Mm.
you have to take a step back as a woman and as a mother and ask yourself, what can I do in my own capacity? Because I don't have control over their lives. And me making a comment on them is not, it's only going to bring them down, but also it's only going to make me feel, even worse. In your own space as a woman and as a mother, sit down and think, what can I do to better myself? If it means I want to reach the level that that woman is busy with. And I
Mm.
understand, generally it is difficult for everybody. We are all in different walks of life. We are all in financial different situations. Like you said, that woman has 11,000. In essence, it won't be possible for everybody.
For
But
sure.
that does not mean that we can use these women as role models and motivation to do the best that we can do. Because my best might not be 11,000, but
Sure.
my best might actually be 500 more than what I'm doing. But because I'm always looking down on myself and down on other people, my best is going to stay at 1,000 rand because I'm not
Mm.
willing to accept somebody else's growth so that I can push towards their growth and get that extra 500 rand. It is
Mm.
honestly all about mindset. And again, back to the digital age, you have to, if you are going online and you feeling like this and you are urged to write these negative comments about people, and you disliking them because of their success, take a step back, go off the platform and reevaluate. Like, reevaluate your intentions. What is it
Yeah.
that you're going online for? And
Yeah.
search those things.
Yeah.
So I think in that aspect, that would be, my advice. Because if I was on that mommy group, I literally would have looked at her and I would have been like, as you say, I wish I could do that. I honestly wish, what can I do in my own capacity right now that will enable me to do a little bit better than what I'm doing? And then I push towards my little goals in my little space, but using her and giving her credit for what she is doing. And that is
Yeah.
the problem, Karaba. In our society now, we do not give women the credit that they deserve. I don't care what walk of life you in, what race you in, the culture you from, how many children you have. Give
Mm.
women the credit for what they're doing, and let's not put them down because we feel less of ourselves. Let's us, use it as motivation to try to do better. And I think that is
Yeah.
how we can change the narrative of being nicer to each other.
I love that. And it's such a, you're right, it's such a mindset game. I call it catching a thought or catching an emotion. When you see something that makes you feel different or makes you feel otherwise, catch it and assess it, right? So if you see someone online,
Exactly.
if you saw Stacy online with her three kids and they all in matching outfits and they look so cute, if that makes you feel bad, um, then it's important for you to take a step back and ask yourself, "Uthi, Karabo, why is that making you feel the way you're feeling right now?" And that's how we grow, right? By having our self-awareness game needs to be on 100. I always talk about this. I always talk about how self-knowledge is actually power, because when you are aware of your emotions, when you're aware of your thoughts, then you understand where they come from, and then only then you can be able to have power over them. Then you can look at Stacey's beautiful pictures with her daughters, with her kids, and that doesn't have to make you feel like you're not doing a good enough job because you haven't purchased matching outfits, right? Because that's
Exactly.
not your journey, right? That hasn't been in your radar yet. But you're right. If you would actually like to have a picture with matching outfits with your kids, comment and say, "Oh, Stacy, this is such a beautiful picture. Where did you get these outfits? We would love a picture like that." How beautiful is that, instead of just soaking all of that negativity out and making
Yes.
yourself stress out and making yourself even feel sick physically, because a lot of the stuff that happens in our heads can manifest physically. Now you are feeling
Oh,
tired and ill because of just one picture that you could have used to get you excited about the next picture you were going to be taking. um,
yeah.
I went through that. Like, I went through a phase of scrolling through my timeline and always feeling so terrible about myself. And I caught
Oh,
that feeling, I caught that emotion, and I was like, I need a social media detox. I need to step away from all of it, and I need to assess why I feel so bad about myself. And I did. I sat back and I introspected, and and I came back stronger, because then I
exactly.
taught myself to be a lot more confident in myself, because a lot of it is based on that. Because you always feel like personally you're not doing enough. You're like, look,
Yeah, no,
other
definitely.
children,
Oh,
exactly, other children are doing so much better than I am. I'm doing so much less. Now that's why I'm okay. Like, we did a test run in the morning, and my hair was just all over the place, and I was wearing a guard, and I was okay with that, because I'm like, this is my life. This is what happens in my household. I don't have to try and be something that I'm not. I don't have to try and do stuff that's outside of my capacity right now, because I'm worried about what other people are doing in their own lives and what God
yeah,
is doing in their own lives. Oh, it's really a lot. So I think it's beautiful that we are understanding that our own insecurities are feeding the negativity that we're feeding in other people's lives. That is actually
yeah,
that is actually so profound. So we need to work on ourselves a lot, and be confident enough in our own journeys that we don't feed that kind of
yeah,
negativity into someone else's.
yeah. And it's a process. It's not something that is gonna
Oh,
change after, watching this live. It's not gonna change in a week, in a year. I think every day, if you're making a little bit of
yes,
progress, it
yes,
makes a big difference. Take
yes.
one step at a time, one step at a
Yeah,
time. And
yeah,
it's tough. It honestly
yeah.
is tough, especially
You have to be
in the
very
mom.
intentional. Yeah. No, you
You
have to be
you
very intentional.
definitely have to, because being a mom is not like, if please, like, I don't know if I can even make this analogy, but when you have a career, it is so easy to switch careers. So your career is not something that you're not labeled for the fact
Yes,
that you are a publisher. You can be a publisher, you can be an editor afterwards, you can be a marketing strategist
yes,
afterwards, but
yes.
being a mother,
It's a
you are
mother.
always a mother.
It's,
It's not like you can be a father tomorrow, or you can
no,
change it the next day. You are a mother, you will stay a mother.
yeah.
that that is that's the
Fact,
crux of the matter. So that
fact.
is why it needs to you need to put so much attention and so much more into being a mother and being a woman, and allowing yourself to learn, to grow, to make mistakes, as you say, to put more energy into that. I mean, we spend what, 3 years getting a degree to get that title.
Yeah.
What's to say that, every year every day we need to put a little bit into being a mother, into being
Yeah.
a wife, into being a woman. We need to invest in ourselves. And that is how
Mm.
we're going to grow. So it's a process. It's not something like tomorrow I might cry to one of my friends and say, you know what, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean, it doesn't take away from the message that I'm giving now. It just means that I needed to take a step back, reevaluate
Yeah.
what I need, what my goals are, and then keep
Yeah.
pushing again.
Yes.
So when you say
Oh.
you take social media breaks, it's you should do that. Spend some time with yourself, reevaluate your goals. But I mean, it doesn't mean you have to stay away completely. But if you feel it's draining you and it's changing your thought process, it's becoming more of a weight, then you must know. Let's try to get rid of some of this weight and then go at it again if that is what you want to do.
Oh, beautiful. And I think it's also important to also realize that we have a common goal as mothers, and our goal
Exactly.
is to raise happy and healthy children.
See,
But how we do that is
it's
constantly going to be different. It is going to be different because Karabo and Stacy are two different people. Karabo and Stacy were raised in two different ways. I think I said this earlier when you were off. Karabo and
no,
Stacy have two different sets of beliefs. So we're not going to make the same decisions for our children.
no.
I was looking at the conversations that were happening around the coronavirus and back to school. And I even wrote an article about it, um, about how I deregistered my child from school. And I was confident to share that article, and it actually did very well online because I assumed a lot of people were probably feeling the same about not wanting to take their kids back, but we can't
Yeah,
say that anymore. We can't. We don't feel like we have the space to be open because we feel like we'll get judged because some
judged.
people said no, but you are blocking her from having social interaction. I was like, oh, it's me, it's my child.
It's you.
I'm making
Exactly.
the choice. I'm making the choice to keep her away from school. And it's the
Yeah.
same. Some parents were taking their kids back, and I had no right to say you are playing dice with
You
your
did.
kid's life. That was not my. It's
Exactly.
not my choice, and I never said that. And and that's a thing, right? Is because we have our natural biases with a lot of things. We can think it, right? We can think it, but we also have to realize that our brains and our mouths are not attached like this. So the first thing
Mm-hmm.
that comes into your brain does not have to be the first thing that comes out of your mouth or
Out of
that
your
you
mouth.
type. Like there can be a thought process in the middle. So this can be your brain, this can be the thought process, and this can be your mouth or your
And there's
fingers.
a
So you
filter.
that right? So you can actually process the stuff because then I would be like someone would saying, no, my kids are going back, and I could be thinking, oh, that is so risky. Oh, that is so risky. Like your kid is too young. I could be thinking about all of that, but that shouldn't be what I say because then it
Exactly.
took a lot for a parent to decide to take their kids back. Someone just didn't just decide to wake up in the morning and say, my kids are going back to school. It took a lot for them to have the confidence to decide and share it online. So it's not my place
Exactly.
to make them feel any shitty about their decision. Excuse my
Exactly.
language. But I could have processed
No.
it right, like if for someone that decides to do a c-section, right, my own personal bias could be, come on, your body was built to give birth naturally. That could be my
Mm-hmm.
bias because I'm a human being. I
Yeah.
have biases, but then it's not my place to say, Stacey, how dare you decided to schedule c-sections? Like, why are you so lazy? Like,
Exactly.
what is the purpose of saying that? So the next time we see some a child throwing a tantrum in a public space, rather than side eyeing the mom, go to
Yeah.
her and give her a hug, or ask her how you can help. Imagine that, right?
Yeah.
Imagine seeing a mom going through something really difficult and asking them, how can I help you?
Yo. Mm-mm.
How how can I
It will
help?
make
Like that
such a
just gave
difference.
me that actually just gave me such goosebumps because we go through a lot, and
Did
that's one thing I do, like, and that's how I formed relationships with a lot of strangers, even on Facebook. Moms sharing just the difficulties that they're going through, and
yeah.
I always like side DMing people. I slide in people's DMs so much. Right, I slide
Anybody
into
who's on this
people's
live
DMs.
will know. And need voice notes.
Yeah, right. You slide into people's DMs and you're like, you're not alone. You will be okay. I I I just want people to feel and understand that they're not going through things alone. And I always say, I'm here if you need to talk. Because as much as I talk too much, I also listen a lot. Because there's so much that we can learn from each other. There's so much that we can learn from each other, and
Definitely.
we don't always have to be imposing on people. And I think
Yeah.
it not even just parenting. I think it happens with everything, like religion. Like I believe in God, but I don't judge people that don't believe in Him. Like I'm not trying to shove God
Exactly.
down everyone's throats. Our journeys are not the same. Our journeys are not the same.
Definitely. And I love analogies and practical pictures because I'm a very creative person. So I love art. I love, I'm not the so if motherhood is honestly like if you look at a tree, motherhood
Yeah.
is literally the branch of the tree. Not the branch.
Mm.
What do you call that thing? The stump that's
Yes.
motherhood. We are all
Yes.
there. But the
Mm.
branches that come out of it, they go in different directions, but we are all kind of in this together. We are in one tree, but it doesn't mean we're going through the same thing. But it also doesn't mean I'm going to say, you know what, you have less leaves than me, or you have this, or you have that. I feel like we all, and that's the thing. I think that's the thing that gets me. And especially as somebody on the outside, if I go on somebody's profile and I see a bad comment, I think that's also something we need to touch on, Grabo, is,
Yeah.
if you're on the outside and you see a bad comment on somebody's profile, like I cried. There's been times where I've seen these comments on other moms' profile and it's affected me. I can only imagine what it's done to the person that's sharing their journey. I think to myself, like, how could you have said something like that? And that's
You're
also
an
when I slide in your DM. Me, I don't care who you are, whether you've
yeah.
got 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers, you are a
Yeah.
human. There is a person behind a profile, there's a person, there is emotion behind whoever you're talking to online. And I'll slide into the DMs, whether they're going to read it or not. I slide in, I
Mm.
say, listen, are you okay? As you say, is there anything I can help you with? You are not alone. And
Yeah.
I would say, I'm sorry that somebody had said that to you. I've done
Yeah.
it countless times. Am I saying no? But I just feel like because it's other people's negativity, it affects me as well, even though it's not directed at me. It's because I'm a mother and I feel what you feel. So I feel like, and it also doesn't mean I'm going to now start, World War II on your timeline.
Yeah.
Especially if I see that you as an individual hasn't commented on something negative somebody has said. But I mean,
Yeah.
I will rebut that comment and I will go on it and write a comment of my
Mm.
own, not according to that comment. And I'll write a comment on my own and I'll say, you know what, you're amazing. Because if
Yeah.
I am somebody who's posting my journey and I have 50 positive comments and one
Mm.
negative,
Mm.
automatically your brain would say, there's something wrong with that person who had the
Mm.
negative comment, not with me,
Mm.
because of all these women who are standing with me. So if
Yeah.
we don't do that and somebody has three comments, it's
Mm.
mathematics, it's statistics. And
Yeah.
I'm going to now three comments and two of them are negative. That person's
Mm.
obviously going to think, hey, but I have done something wrong as a person, as a human, and start
Yeah.
questioning themselves. You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, as it brings us back to our first point, say what's on your mind. If it's good, if it's not, filter it. You don't have to say it. But if you want and you admire somebody, tell them.
Yeah.
Because it will. Honestly, it might be just that one thing that that person needs to get through their day is for you to tell them, you know what, you are doing a good job. Or you know what, if nobody told you, you are absolutely beautiful. Because it could be that I posted a picture of myself with all this makeup, and just before I posted it, I've been crying in the bathroom because I just feel like I'm not good enough.
Mm,
So saying nice things to people, it makes a huge difference. It honestly
yeah,
does. Just
yeah.
be
Because
kind, man. Be nice.
yeah, love more, judge less. Because we're all going through
Yes.
something. That's what I'm learning as I grow up. That we are all fighting our own battles. Some people share their battles online. I've shared about my mental health issues online because I know I'm not going through that alone. Some people don't share openly on their platforms because of one, fear of being judged, and two, they feel like they're going through the stuff alone, or they don't want to get people involved or get people into their spaces. But we're all fighting one battle or the other. So it's important to be kind. And you're an empath. You're just like me. When I see a negative comment, I don't think about the person that posted it, but I think about the person that
Yeah.
received it. Because I immediately
Yeah.
feel, oh, that is so mean. I think that's why I cannot stand Twitter. A friend of mine called Twitter a blocked toilet because Twitter is toxic place full of nothing but judgment and people that are just out to destroy. And I always I don't I have a Twitter account because of work, and sometimes there's a lot of beauty that happens on that platform, but a lot of
Yeah.
the time there's just a lot of negativity, and I can't stand it. So I always remove myself from a space like that. So I love that. Be kind. And kindness is it's kindness is such a beautiful experience because it's also empowering. Like it's so nice to be nice. Like I feel so nice about myself when I'm nice to somebody else. Right?
Yes.
I flourish from that. I flourish from
No, I
from
do
someone,
definitely.
right? I absolutely flourish from that. So imagine how many of us could just be flourishing from shedding a light in someone's day and telling someone that they're
Yeah.
beautiful, giving an unsolicited, you are so beautiful, you are doing such a good job. Because
Yeah.
you see a lot of people, like a lot of women posting selfies. You must know it took a lot, man. It took a lot to
Oh
post
no,
a.
that's about 100 selfies before that. No, it took too much. Oh.
It takes a lot. We shoot video and I always think, and maybe this is what I could end with. I always think about the work it takes to produce work. So I always think about what happens on the back end of us posting what we're posting. It took a lot for a mom to go onto a Facebook group and ask for a suggestion about something. That's
Yeah.
not the first thing they thought about. They were probably struggling with that for a very long time, right? Let's make
Mm-hmm.
a breastfeeding example. For Karabo to come to Facebook and say, you know what, I've been breastfeeding for 6 months and it's actually been such a difficult process. I'm really thinking about leaving it. How can I do that? It took a while. Karabo did not just wake up that morning and say,
I'm
screw it,
done.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not breastfeeding anymore. It was a huge process for me to
Exactly.
finally have the confidence of posting something like that. So that's what I always think about, that when you post something, it's not just a picture you just found and just posted it online of either you or your
Mm.
kids or whatever is on your mind. So that's where my kindness is comes from, because I know there's a lot
Yeah.
of intention and there's a lot of work that came from that. So I'm also going to appreciate that you finally had the confidence to post it. You finally had the confidence to
Yeah.
ask that question. And I'm going to reciprocate that energy with nothing but beauty and kindness and understanding. And I'm going to
Yes.
acknowledge your feelings and just your humanity. And that's where my
Yeah.
response is going to come from. Not from a terrible place of thinking I'm better or trying to make myself feel better because I breastfed for 2 years. So you can do it. So So yeah, I think that's it for me. If I continue here, I'm not going to stop. What are your final words to the people?
um, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for having me. I've been asked a lot to. Can you see? I'm gonna cry again.
Do it.
I've been asked a lot of times to share my journey and share on a video. Um, if you look at my profile, I don't have videos of myself. And
Mm,
it's because I'm, as I said, I'm such an emotional person, and because I give my all. So I feel like this is growth for me. So thank you from your side, for allowing me to literally not say no. And I don't know, for coming up with a topic that is very close to my heart, and allowing me to share my journey with everybody. As I said, it's tough being a mom, and you guys are not alone. We are
yeah.
not alone. Um, it's important for your mental health uh, to speak about these things. Don't let it lock up inside. And this is also a way that I, you know, let loose. I will cry all the time. I'm always emotional, and only because, not because, oh, she's crying, but because it's that energy that's leaving me after a long, hard day of carrying Emma, of running
Mm,
around, of doing 10 things at once. You
mm,
know, it takes a lot. So to
yeah.
receive kindness on my platform, I just want to speak about myself. It
Yeah.
means a lot to me. And that is why I'm so mindful at what I put out and how I, you know, kind of interact with everybody. It's because I receive all that kindness. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for that. And share your journeys, guys. We're not alone.
Yeah.
Parenting is your motherhood ish. It doesn't get,
So,
I want to leave you with it. No, it doesn't get any easier, but it does
mm,
get better. So if that's the last thing I can say to everyone who's listening, for whatever you're going through, whether you feel like you're not good enough as a mom, whether you having doubts about yourself, how you feel about yourself, just know it doesn't get any easier, but it gets better. Push through. Everything is
mm.
going to be okay. So that's all from me.
I love that. Thank you so much, and I'm appreciating this because I know it's a lot for you to be here and have this conversation on video with me and the people that are watching. So thank you so much for allowing me into your space. And thank you to everyone that joined us and everyone that has
Thank,
been active. Simply Ika, Lyndall Atkins,
thanks, Lynn.
Mishka, Lawrence.
Thanks, Mish.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. Samantha Lee Peterson, Nibafu Quinn, and Richard Mokwena. Oh, my husband, good vibes. Hashtag good vibes, baby. Lyndon Atkins. Thank you so much. This was really beautiful, and I hope that we can continue the conversation. I'm a huge conversationalist. I think I always say this in all my lives, just about how conversations start revolutions. And we
Definitely.
can't change stuff that we don't firstly talk about. So we have to talk and recognize that there's a problem, and recognize also that we have the power to fix the problem.
Attention. Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so thank you to everybody who joined us, and thank you to you. We love you, and stay
Anytime.
strong,
Thank
stay
you.
confident, and just know that you are doing enough. If your kids are happy and they're healthy, you are doing enough. Screw what I'm doing on my social media. Much love. Have a lovely weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.